At the end. Welcome to those that are just joining us. Just to reiterate, you will get a full copy of the recording and the deck after the session, and don't hesitate to ask some questions in the chat. So without further ado, employer branding to attract and retain top talent. So just a very quick intro to who we are for those of you who haven't met me or haven't met the team here at Waggoner Digital. My name's Dan Jenkins. I'm our commercial director. We're a full service digital agency. This is some of our team in Cheltenham. We've been established since 2011. We're an award-winning digital agency. We've got 3 offices across the UK in London, St Albans, and indeed in Cheltenham. But we work with brands right the way across the UK and internationally as well. I'll go into our core services in a moment, but we work with a wide range of international clients across varying industries and a team of specialists with expert in-depth knowledge that work with, as I say, clients across a range of sectors. If you'd like to find out more, don't hesitate to drop me a message, or indeed we can follow up on LinkedIn afterwards. As I mentioned previously, 4 core services, so digital marketing, everything from SEO and PPC right the way through to social media and AI solutions, website development and web design. We're HubSpot Platinum partners, and of course, employer branding. We've got some really exciting case studies that I'd love to share with you from an employer branding perspective and the work that we have done there. So that's enough from me. I'm now going to hand you over to Dom, who's going to intro himself, as well as the other members of the team and a guest that we have on the session today. So over to you, Dom.
Awesome. Cheers. Thank you so much, Dan. So I'm Dominic. I'm the SEO and content marketer here at Waggoner with a specialism in employer branding. So that means that the aim of all the work that I do is to use content to drive results, be that increasing traffic through SEO, driving conversion leads through email marketing or lead magnets, and for the purpose of this webinar, using content to help clients attract better quality candidates. I'm really excited to give you guys a better understanding of employer branding. And before we do that, we've got a few other people we need to introduce. Drew?
Hello. Is it the next slide?
I just thought you were going to intro yourself.
Oh. Hello, everyone. My name's Prudence. I am Senior Digital Marketer at Waggoner. I have 4 years experience in branding, working with award-winning creative agencies, and 3.5 years in recruitment marketing. So hopefully I am in a good stead to deliver this webinar to you. So a little bit about me. I'm a storyteller at heart with a passion for creativity, design. I have a BA in photography and videography, and I enjoy turning ideas into action. I predominantly specialize in creative ideation, strategy, social media marketing, SEO, and content creation. A fun fact about me, I thought let's have something a bit more fun. So I'm a lover of plants, and I believe I may actually have enough in my home to be considered carbon neutral. So yeah, that's it from me, and I'll pass on to Harrison.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm Harrison. I'm 22 years old. I'm a recent graduate, which is handy for today. And I'm also the founder of a business called The Smart Elephant, which is all about making students the most sought after resource on the planet and bridging the gap between the latest student talent and industry. So our expertise is with developing AI agents and agentic workflows and different software solutions. And we're based in the UK and UAE. So we use students to take on these real world projects, and we're affiliated with multiple universities across the UK as part of our student network. So I'm going to be drawing on that a bit today. And a little fun fact about me to hop on what Prudence was saying is I love my football, both watching and playing, and I'm a Middlesbrough fan.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that introduction, Harrison. So after all that, if you still have a bit of reservations of why you should listen to us, hopefully these next kind of case studies will help. We've been providing employer branding for years at Waggoner, and we've been doing it pretty well. For one of our clients, B&M Care Home, we've increased applications by 50% through our work. And with that, we focused on enhancing their career website and their socials. So we're going to give away a few tactics of how we do that. But our success also spans other industries too. With good employer branding is specific to each industry. So we focus our tactics that work best for your business. And for all about children, we've increased applications there by 157%. And with that, we focused on SEO to drive applications through organic search. So Hopefully you trust us now. If you do, I'm going to crack on and kind of go through employer branding if you're starting from the very beginning and explaining kind of exactly what employer branding is. Well, we define employer branding as an image of how good your company is as a place to work. It kind of defines how potential employees and your current employees view your business. Employer branding is all about your perception. You know, just how like customers want to buy from a brand that aligns with their needs, wants, and pain points, people want to work with a brand that also aligns with their values, needs, and demands. Now, your employer brand is made up of various different factors, but the core that I think are the main core for are your culture, your candidate opinions, your employee opinions, and also your corporate brand. So just to dive into those a little bit deeper, under culture, that kind of covers things like your values, your vision, and your kind of working process, and that will kind of like plays into your employer brand there. And yeah, first impressions count. So candidate opinions can be influenced by things like reviews and your career pages. So it's very important to kind of optimize that so you give them a good impression of your employer brand. But you also got to pay attention to your current employees too. They play a big role in building your employer brand. And not to mention that your corporate brand plays a massive role here too. If people think you're a good place to buy from, then they're also probably going to think that you're a good place to work at too. So why is employer branding important? Well, here are a few statistics to hopefully show you that employer branding isn't just busy work, but it can actually drive some pretty good results. 27% of job vacancies in 2024, so last year, were due to a skill shortage. So people are struggling to attract candidates that match the skills that they need. Plus 86% of organizations believe that hiring is quiet or quite competitive. So these all show that these are things that employer branding can support with and kind of overcome that challenge. Yeah, but in general, employer branding can help you attract the best talent in your field and also help you save in recruitment costs, as you'll be able to spend less time getting those people in. Employer branding can also improve the employee retention, so it can ensure that you keep the people you have in your business, and it will also strengthen the employee advocacy of the people that you have in there as well. And employer branding has really high potential to bring in some really good results for your business. A positive employer brand can increase new employee commitment by 27% and also increase the likelihood of employees being advocates from 24% to 47%. And on the flip side, a poor employer brand will also cause you to have to pay more in salary to attract the people that you want, around 21% more based on the figures. So with that kind of out the way, I'm going to talk to you a bit about how to figure your employer branding out. Now, before we can get it in and create your employer branding, you need to first work out what it is that makes you unique, what makes you different from everybody else. And the best way to do that is to start by crafting an EVP. So what is an EVP? So an EVP stands for Employer Value Proposition. It's a statement that presents the unique set of benefits and rewards a company offers in exchange for your employees. In exchange for getting in employees. It outlines what staff and applicants can expect from you, and it's all the stuff that entices good quality workers to your business. Now, before you go out and create your employer brand, you need to first work out what makes you special. And the best way to do this is by crafting this EVP. It sets the tone for all your further branding. And it should act as your kind of guiding light that influences all your other employee branding work. Yeah, essentially, it condenses all that you offer in one tight, succinct statement. And by making your EVP match the wants and needs of top talent, you'll attract them better. We've got two examples here from both Yelp and Chevron. Examples make sure to touch on what some of the things that they know that their candidates want. And eagle-eyed people among you will see that they're both very different from each other. That's important, because you want to make your EVP unique. It's very easy to create a generic EVP that outlines all the things we think we want employees to hear, we think we want them to hear. So when looking at various messaging from various employers kind of on LinkedIn and other sites like that, you'll find kind of the same stuff said over and over and over. And the issue with this is that these key messagings tailored to the audience, the clients the candidates even that you want to bring in. That they actually care about all this stuff. This will draw people. So to make a good EVP, you need to understand what kind of employees you want, and then figure out what kind of if you want to figure out what your employees want, figure out what things these employees are after. I think I've said the same thing twice there, but I'll move on. So what can kind of go into your EVP? there are a lot of different things that you can potentially touch on. And in general, overall makeup of your EVP statement will usually touch on your benefits, compensation, and your performance management, things like talent development, your work life, and also achievement recognition. Now, this wheel we have on screen can go way deeper. For example, benefits section, you can maybe have things like pension contributions, salary and bonuses, and perks and discounts, those kind of things you offer. We'll actually be sending over a more in version of this after the webinar to kind of help you what you can think about in your EVP. And the emphasis is on can. You shouldn't aim to touch on all of things in your EVP statement. It's just, you want to focus on what's relevant. These are more just kind of things you can consider while building it, and then crystallize and finalize what you kind of want to go after. Prue is kind of now going to walk you through a couple of good examples of an EVP from around the world.
Thank you, Dom. That was great. Yeah, so I have been doing some digging and I have found some examples of what I think makes really, really strong EVP. So first up is HubSpot. They are a leading CRM platform. So they have an EVP that places emphasis on work-life balance. So the company offers a range of benefits that support employees' well-being. So they have unlimited vacation allowance, which is actually quite interesting because I think statistically, it's quite an interesting one. The unlimited vacation allowance, I don't think everyone actually takes. So there is, I guess, some further conversations to be had with that. But they also have fully remote working and a 4-week sabbatical program for their employees, so they can pursue their personal interests. It's after a 5-year service. So a quote that I've taken from a representative at HubSpot is that people who do great work deserve great support. That's why we care about building culture of flexibility, learning, and belonging. So the company offers general parental benefits, such as their dedicated employee resource group. So families at HubSpot, which is a great resource hub for employees. So employees can also look forward to generous paid leave for new parents, as well as, I thought this one might shock you, as well as egg freezing benefits to help provide female employees with more support, which is not one I've come across, and I think it's quite an interesting approach. So HubSpot also invites candidates on social media as well, which is great, looking at another touch point. They basically encourage them to picture themselves at HubSpot using the hashtag HubSpotLife. So this basically showcases everything from the fun stuff, such as company-sponsored events, to like the activities that they do. And it's great at getting your employees to kind of advocate, and kind of having that hashtag of HubSpotLife kind of brings it all together where everyone can see. Next is Canva. So Canva, if you don't know, is a graphic design platform. So Canva empowers users to create professional quality design without needing extensive design skills. And it's similar to the company and the way that they talk about their EVP. So they empower their employees to feel inspired to do their best work. So with an EVP that emphasizes a culture of empowerment and innovation, which is, completely relevant for what they do as a company. Their career site states from day one. Oh, am I back? Sorry about that. So their career site states from day one, it's been our goal to create a workplace where everyone feels that they truly belong. So the company's dedicated careers website aptly encourages candidates to design their future with Canva. They've even got the word design in their comms and the way that they're talking, so they're speaking directly to who it is that they want to talk to. So yeah, it highlights its commitment to employee development as well, with over 34 million designs created per month, which is crazy. Providing ample opportunity to work on unique and exciting projects is also part of their EVP. So shining a light on the impact each employee can have on their mission, Canva says, sometimes the chance comes up to be part of something really special. Canva is making design amazingly simple for everyone, and the potential is limitless. We're empowering people to design anything and publish anywhere. So you can see that there really is like this empowerment to the way that they communicate their EVP, and how, who they're attracting definitely comes across in the way that they communicate their messaging. And then so next is LinkedIn. So as I'm assuming we all know LinkedIn. It's the world's largest professional network. So LinkedIn has crafted a really compelling EVP that resonates with its employees as well. So their approach is centered around a culture of professional growth and personal fulfillment, which of course makes sense to LinkedIn. The network's commitment to employee development is evident in its robust learning and growth opportunities that they provide. So employees have access to a vast library of courses. I don't know if you've all seen the courses that are available on LinkedIn. So they're also available to employees through LinkedIn Learning, along with dedicated mentorship programs and clear career progression pathways. So they're really talking to people who want to develop and push themselves and really grow as a professional. One of the most notable aspects of LinkedIn's EVP is, again, its use of the hashtag LinkedIn Life. And again, this just encourages employees to share their experiences, their insights, their achievements, all on the platform. And I think it creates a sense of community and allows employees to feel connected to a larger network of professionals. So I think we can really take these are really good examples that we can take some great aspects and messaging from. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fru. I think what's really clear with that is that these businesses we've explored have a really strong EVP, and they're not able to use that in their core messaging. And this is something, this is the goal, is to create something kind of similar to those examples. So how do we go about doing that? Well, we've actually got 4 different ways that we can help you crystallize your EVP, and then from that find out what kind of key messaging you should be including. So one of the first tactics is to create an ideal candidate persona, to kind of hone in on what your ideal candidate wants, and then speak about that in your EVP. You can also survey your current employees to kind of learn exactly what they're looking for and what kind of excites them, and then build off that in your kind of core messaging as well. You can use your business goals to help you create your EVP as well, so that your EVP is tied with your business goals, and that employer branding helps push your business forward. And then you can also review the trends of your specific industry as well to get a general idea of what people are looking for. So let's dive into each one of those in a bit more detail. So you need to fully understand who you want to have in your company before you can begin to market to them. You can't just state that you want graduates between 19 to 25 years old. It kind of needs to go a bit deeper than that. And that's why you should create an ideal candidate persona. Now, this takes this general idea that you have and really forces you to narrow things down. So essentially, your ideal candidate persona should be a description of someone who, if they walked through the door before an interview, you'd want to hire them immediately. They are like your pinnacle kind of prospect. So your ideal candidate persona should include things like your demographic information, their education and experience, some of their attributes and motivations, their wants and needs, and then kind of most importantly for them creating your key messaging is their pain points and their challenges. And once you have this, you can then call out their wants and desires to help you build an EVP that matches. So for example, you may find through this exercise that your ideal candidate persona, may want to grow rapidly in their skills. So then you should detail how you help them grow in your EVP statements and in your messaging around that. Or if they're looking for work-life balance, then you need to showcase what you do to help them in this regard. We've actually got a workable template that we'll be sharing with you as well to kind of help you build your ideal candidate persona. We'll be sending this over in a few days on some follow-up emails, so look out for that. Moving on to the second point, which is surveying your current employees. You want to isolate your kind of high performers and champions and then survey them to kind of get a better understanding of what people already in your business think. Employer branding is equally for your current employees, not just people you kind of want to bring into the business. So this can be a great way to see if your EVP aligns with your team and then give you tips on how to make things more effective. So some of the questions you should ask in your survey include things about asking about your culture, reasons why someone should join and then also stay at your company, questions about what's important to them as it comes to work, some work-life balance related questions, any questions about your strengths versus your competitors, and then any recommendations to kind of improve employee experience. And if there are any consistent or overlapping answers, then this kind of becomes something that you can address in your EVP. Now, moving on to personally, what I think is my favorite tactic. As I said before, you want your business goals to drive your EVP. You want those things to marry up. So by working backwards from your goals, you'll be able to identify EVP points and factors that you can focus on to ensure that you have the right kind of applicants. So you can do this by first jotting down some of your strategic objectives of your business, so things that you need to do to kind of meet your goals. And then for each strategic objective, you want to think about what kind of employee you need to kind of help you do that, what skills they need, and just what kind of employee they are. And then from this, you can then think about what these employees kind of want and need. And those are your pain points that you can address in your EVP and then in your core messaging following that. Here's an example. So if your business goal is to drive customer retention, for example, you need staff that is empathetic, service orientated, and who genuinely care about your people. So to get people like that, you need to offer, a sense of purpose in the work and connection to your customers, as well as offer them things like training and development to help nurture these soft skills further. If you like the look of this method, we've also, as said before, we've got a template for you to use to help you plot things down and kind of crystallize that. So we're sending those over shortly as well. And finally, one other great way to help shape your EVP is to review the trends of your industry, because wants and desires kind of change based on the type of work you do. So for example, people in the tech industry, they value things like autonomy and flexibility and working in a business that is innovative, among other things. However, you switch to something like healthcare, they're more focused on kind of like a purpose and patient impact in their work, as well as job stability and kind of things like that. So to attract the top talent in each industry or role type, you'll need to create a vastly different EVPs that kind of touch on these specifics. But genuinely, what do people want in 2025 when it comes to employment? So looking at some research from Randstad, we were able to see that the top 5 core drivers for why an employee chooses a company to apply for. And some of those things there aren't particularly surprising. Salary and benefits remain at top 1, and that's rounded out by work-life balance and job security. And things like work atmosphere and equity also round up the top 5. But that's just general. That's just kind of like a vast net. Things change for each demographic that you look into. So this here kind of details the top 3 kind of wants and needs for kind of like each generation that's currently in the workplace. For now, you will see that salary and benefits are kind of like consistent across all of them. But if you dive deeper into those, you'll see some core differences. For example, for baby boomers, they're more influenced by those good traditional benefits like healthcare plans, pension schemes, and things like that. Whereas millennials and especially Gen Z, they can be more attractive by what I call superficial benefits, things like free gym memberships, extra holiday days, and like discounts on products and things. Another kind of key thing I wanted to point out is that millennials find career progression really important and a key driver, whereas Gen Z are focused more on learning and development. As they're more likely to be in early stages of their careers, this generation, they want to upskill quickly. So offering strong training plans can really help attract this generation. But when it comes to Gen Z, I'm going to pass on to someone a bit more qualified to talk about their desires and what you can do as a business to attract the next generation of workers. So Harrison, if you don't mind taking it away.
Of course. Cheers, Dom. Thank you. So building on what you're talking about, I'm going to talk about this shift and what's shaping the next generation and their expectations of employers. So to talk you through the slide, by 2030, 48% of consumers will be millennials or Gen Z. And these are basically the macro trends and behaviors shaping the younger generations. So personalization, sustainability, on-demand, creator economy, localized business, and AI and innovation. Now, these things don't just shape consumer behavior and how they buy, but also directly shape employee expectations and how they want to work. So personalization, for example, this can be a personalized career path or flexibility. So for example, having a hybrid position and only being needed in the office 2 days a week gives them flexibility in their daily routine. Sustainability, there's an expectation that employees act responsibly and ethically, obviously, but this ties in with localized business too, where typically the next generation are more interested in value-driven companies rather than faceless corporates, for example. On demand, so a preference for dynamic work with clear purpose and a visible impact and not just something repetitive or siloed roles. then creator economy. So preference for autonomy, as Dominic was saying, but also allowing people to be creative and give them responsibility. And you find that if you dummy proof a system, then you turn them into dummies by extension. And the more freedom within a reason, obviously, that you give someone, the more value, the more valued and responsible they will feel, and the more accountable they will be as well. I actually spoke to a woman called Erin Meyer who worked under Reed Hastings, who founded Netflix. And in their book that they wrote together, that was the main point behind the success of Netflix, was giving people freedom to act in the best interest of the company. Then AI and innovation. So there's an expectation to be working with smart tools and not just outdated systems or admin heavy jobs, and be upskilling and growing on the job, so that they value continuous learning and mentorship and clear progression. So, these are the types of things that graduates are beginning to look for in the job market. And the job market is shifting towards, because Gen Z challenged this tradition, and Gen Alpha will redefine it and only expect more of these things from employers: to be AI native, to be ethically grounded, and also personally adaptable. So moving on to the next slide, the next wave of graduates are looking for purposeful, tech-empowered human workplaces, and not just salaries, although that is a factor as well, obviously. So these are the things that they're looking for, and you should try think about when you have an opening or an opportunity for a position. And then there's also some more things you can do to attract graduates. So employers say it's really difficult to attract the latest talent, but as someone who's recently graduated, it feels hard to find a job as well, or look for other opportunities out there. So it seems hard on both ends. A really good thing you can do is just be visible where these graduates are. So on marketplaces like job leads or Glassdoors. Most universities also have a job board for graduates of relevant jobs as well. So I'd say it's worth reaching out to them or exploring their websites to see how you can feature on that job board as an employer. Then also I'd say attend events. So I recently attended the Leeds Digital Careers Fair. So you can get involved with events nearby and get more visibility, because if they can't find you, then they can't choose you. And this ties into the social media as well. So how much the younger generation and mine are online. So don't forget about your socials, because that's another good way to get visibility too. Then next, be clear with your job description and expectations. So if you're expecting someone to arrive and have instant value and absolutely boss it, then there might be some cases where that happens, but almost all graduates won't have 3 years of real world experience, and it's a bit unrealistic. So just try and understand that and include it in the description of the role. If they need to have a proven track record, then that's fine, but your main audience is probably no longer graduates, it's people with more experience or a very select few graduates. And if you are targeting graduates and the experience is a bit, it's less important, then as Dominic was saying, sort of set your expectations of they're expected to be competent and have a good foundation and fundamentals, but you'll help them learn how you operate and your working practices and upskill. And this is also part of the flexibility as well. Then last but not least, I've got just create a can-do culture and a two-way learning culture. So rather than saying no because, oh, we can't do this because of, X, Y, Z, try change the language to yes, if. And I like to apply this to everything I do in life and at Smart Elephant in general. But creating this learning culture goes back to what we were saying about, encouraging curiosity, giving them space to learn, and sort of treating this onboarding as a shared process. And when graduates and people coming into the industry feel trusted to learn and experiment and contribute their ideas, then they will grow faster and rise to the challenge and be more responsible.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Harrison. It was really great insights. And yeah, we're really lucky to kind of have your perspective on that. Thank you so much. So
Thank you.
at this point in the webinar, you should have a better idea of what you should be focusing on with your EVP and kind of the core messaging you want to develop around that. But how do you go about communicating that message is kind of what we're going to cover next. Now, you need to work out your key messaging. The language this is the language that you're going to use on all your touch points, and the benefits that you want to highlight everywhere. And we've got a bit of a framework to kind of help you craft your messaging on wherever you want that messaging to be. So I think it's very important that you want to directly speak about the audience pain points in your messaging, and also how you help them, alleviate those pain points and also achieve their goals. The numbers there kind of illustrate kind of how many points you kind of want to aim to have on each of those things. You also want to make sure you include some of the things that your employees rated as important, which you kind of found out in one of the steps in creating your EVP. And you also want to highlight things that you have better than your competitors, be that reviews on Glassdoor and stuff like that. You also want to kind of highlight a couple of your strengths based on your audit, and then you want to finalize with your kind of wow element, your summary statement that really should inspire and kind of get people interested in your company. Now, here's that framework in action. This is an example of a bit of copy that you can include at the top of a job ad or on your career page description. Here are the pain points included there, and then here are how you kind of like help them achieve the goals and those pain points. You also have kind of like your employee rated factors there, and what you do better than your competitors, a couple of your strengths, and then the wow moment at the end as well. Cool. Now it's time for me to kind of stop blabbing on for a bit and invite Prue to kind of talk more about where you can apply these key messages with a focus on social media, of course.
Thank you, Dom, and I have been enjoying your blabbering. It's been very good. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the employee journey. So this is from the moment an employee first hear about you to them making an application. So this can actually take quite a long time. It can, and there can be involvement in different touch points along the way. And just to say, it takes on average 7 to 8 marketing touch points before a user makes an inquiry or application. So starting off with reach, this is thinking about how potential employees first hear about you. This can be through ads, or it could be through SEO. For those of you that don't know, it's search engine optimization, or now as it's on the rise, AI optimization as well. So for example, when someone types in, I don't know, let's say nursery practitioner jobs in Cheltenham, are you showing up on Google? Are you showing up in AI? So then takes us on to act. So act is when people take an action. They might engage in a post or read one of your blogs or subscribe to your newsletter. And then convert is that application process. So this could be through responding to emails, marketing collateral, or applying directly on site. And then engage. So engage is once people are working for you. So how are you retaining them? This can be through benefits and celebrating success, etc. And I would actually say an example was when I applied to Wagada, I think I was reached through almost every single touch point. So I heard about Wagada through a networking event. I then connected with them on LinkedIn, which then I saw all of their social media posts. Then after I engaged with the website and I saw ads then being positioned, and then I saw their culture and their benefits, which then led to an interview, and luckily, gratefully, a position here at Wagada. So it wasn't one of these all working in isolation. It was all of them working together. It was the journey from beginning to end. So starting with social media, so there are multiple touch points that can help with your employee branding, all as important as each other. However, you're probably on social media. So I did want to spend some time just going a bit deeper on social media and telling you a little bit more about how you can leverage your social media. So I'm going to start with organic social media. So here's some examples of nursery. From showcasing kind of culture to attracting talent and showcasing live jobs. You have LinkedIn that you can post for free on. You can post for free your jobs for free. What am I trying to say? On LinkedIn, you can post your jobs for free. There's also Facebook groups as well. You can post your jobs on, but as well, you can also pay to promote for more visibility and to target specific audience. But I will come on to that later. So social media is one of the first places potential staff members look to get an impression of a company. And interestingly, 62% of job seekers research a company on social media to assess its culture and ethos before applying. So that stat really shows how, making social media is really a key touch point in the employer journey. Okay. So that leads me on to what resonates with potential staff. So using employee advocacy in your social media. So integrate more content around the different job roles out there to showcase how many opportunities there are. So for example, in this example here, we're spotlighting a nursery chef. So integrate more content around, the different job roles. Showcase your values rather than just talk about them. So the video on the right is a really good example of showcasing how people live and breathe the values of a care home. So examples could be thank you notes to the team member, or it could be kind of asking what acts of kindness your colleagues have done for you. This is the sort of content that you can be posting. Every single piece of social content must have a purpose. Okay, it's really, really important. So try avoid posting for the sake of it. It causes a lack of engagement, which is the exact opposite of what you want to achieve. So to create engaging content, encourage your team to be brand ambassadors across social media, especially through video content. We've seen that this works really well. This will help from both a B to C marketing perspective, but also from an employer branding perspective. So if you're not sure what to post, a really easy, quick win is the national holiday national days, so like global days that everyone's celebrating, or national days. For example, you have Read a Book Day, and I think in November we have Remembrance Day coming up, and there's also World Kindness coming up shortly as well. So these are all things that you can use to help with engagement. So what are organic social media best practices? Okay, so LinkedIn is known as the go-to platform for professionals. So LinkedIn allows you to share company updates, employee achievements, and industry thought leadership. So it's a great way to attract skilled candidates and position yourself, your brand as leader in your field. So I've got an example here of Deloitte. So Deloitte employer branding strategy focuses on forward-thinking EVP, employee value proposition. So it's centered on purpose, inclusion, and professional growth. So supported by data-driven recruitment, strong university partnerships. So think about alumni as well, and a human-centered employee experience. So key elements are kind of promoting diversity and inclusion. It's really important for them, fostering professional development, and talent mobility, as well as using data analytics and AI to optimize hiring and building a strong brand to attract high caliber candidates. So this approach has actually led to Deloitte being recognized as a quote most attractive employer in kind of various blogs that I've been reading and various rankings. So yeah, I would strongly suggest you head over to LinkedIn and check out Deloitte, because they've got some really good examples of some good employee engagement posts. And then Instagram. So Instagram is highly visual. It lets you show off your company culture in quite creative ways. You can post behind the scene videos, some examples, highlight your diversity and inclusion efforts, or share employee generated content. So we may have all heard of UGC, which is user generated content. So I'm calling this EGC, employer generated content, just to give you an authentic look into your workplace, because obviously things coming from you, they may sound biased, but things coming from your employees I think are more valid. So I love this account. Please go and check it out if you have time. So this is the City of Marion's library. Employer branding focuses on being a hub for learning and community connection. Of course, it's a library. As shown through a recent annual report highlighting significant library activity, they promote and engage a really kind of fun workplace through creative social media campaigns. They've got this one called Sparky the Husky, which is a mascot, which is also quite big at the moment, having mascots. So it's a character which aims to attract people who value a vibrant and creative environment. So this strategy is linked to the council's broader goals for more engaged, innovative community, and it also brings fun back to learning and encourages people to want to visit. I've never wanted to visit a library as much as I do this library, so I think they really do a really good job at making you want to work there and showcasing the culture there. So yeah, please go check it out. So then we've got TikTok. So if you're looking to connect with a younger talent, this could be a platform for you. So TikTok offers a fun, informal way to engage. You can create short, engaging videos that showcase your company's personality, whilst also reaching a wide audience of digital natives. So TikTok is great for reach and that all-important brand awareness. So Aldi, I've chosen Aldi as the example. Again, I would really encourage you to go check out their TikTok. Aldi has successfully leveraged TikTok to showcase like the daily experience of their employees. So their content gives an authentic look at the working environment. It featuring real employees, and they are real employees, sharing their perspective on company culture and career growth. So as a leading supermarket chain, Aldi highlights its fast-paced, it's rewarding work, and it's fun working environment, and it does it in quite a relatable way. So these are a few examples of videos to attract employees in a fun and informative way. I won't play them now, but you can get them, you can play them when I send you this deck. And also I would really encourage you guys to go check out these social media accounts. So for Facebook, as a community building platform, Facebook allows for longer form content and discussions. It's also a really good space to engage current employees and build a sense of pride in your organization. So Facebook's unique appeal and what can work really successfully is because its sense of community. It's got these community-led groups. So an example could be, jobs in Cheltenham. There's Gloss Jobs, actually, that's a local job community group. Etc. And you can even go more niche. So you can have groups on there that's like healthcare roles in Gloucestershire. So I would encourage people to post on those groups because they really are helpful for reach. So here's an example of IBM. So they are all about kind of growth and innovation. They use quite aspirational language. So they're engaging with talent communities. IBM, they're a global technology and consultancy company. They've taken advantage of Facebook's feature to engage with talent communities. They've created a specialized group focused on various areas such as I think it's AI, cloud, computing and software development. So these groups serve as a space for professionals to connect and learn and engage in discussions related to their industry and their respective fields. Kind of by creating these groups, like facilitating these communities, IBM strengthens its employer brand because it demonstrates its commitment to kind of supporting and nurturing talent in the specific domains. Yeah, I think I really love it because I think IBM's strategy of kind of creating talent communities on Facebook, like it allows them to engage with professionals in specific areas of expertise. And yeah, it kind of creates this really targeted approach and ensures that they connect with individuals who basically possess the desired skills and interests that they're looking for. So I think it's quite a clever way to utilize Facebook. So a word on paid social media. So I've spoken about organic, so I'm going to go briefly into paid, but I'm not going to tell you how to set up a paid social campaign. I just want to discuss how to make the most out of your campaigns, whether you're currently running them or not. So demographics, for example, if you're hiring for apprenticeships, are you looking at the best day to do this? So for example, a good day to do this would be results day, giving them an alternative to uni. Narrative, so narrate stories with clarity and persuasion. So narrate your story with clarity and bring in your EVP and your messaging, exactly what are you offering people? You need to make that really clear. Sometimes paid campaigns aren't going to work. That's the way it is. And that's absolutely fine. You really need to utilize A/B testing when it comes to this, so that you can find that sweet spot. And I would say start small, start with a small budget, and then what you can do is test, and then you can scale what's successful. And then finally, retarget people who have already engaged with your careers content. So you can do clever targeting on Meta, which allows you to remarket to people who have already gone to your careers page. So yes, that leads us on to where else you can showcase your employer brand.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Prue, for all that. That was really interesting going through kind of the social stuff. But social isn't the only place to support your employer brand and kind of where you can target. Other places include your career pages, your job boards, review sites, your internal communications, and also your Google My Business profile. And I was going to end on kind of like the best practices for each. Just kind of go through that and make sure kind of you're set up correctly in like, using your EVP and your key messaging, in these locations. So for your career pages, you kind of want to make sure that you continuously update your career page. There are some career pages I've seen on some websites where the jobs are old, the copy's old, the photos are old. You want to kind of like update your content to kind of reflect the real-time culture, the achievements, and the open roles that you're kind of hiring for. On your career page as well, you want to highlight, the clear career paths if you can, things like your learning opportunities and your company's purpose, especially if you're targeting an ideal candidate that really, really cares about those things. You also want to make sure that your language on your career page kind of mirrors your cultural tone. You don't want to go overly formal if that's not what your business is about. Use that inclusive, human-centered language as much as you can in your copy. And yeah, another tactic on your career page is to showcase your authentic employer stories and like visuals of, the actual people in your company. Don't use, if you can help it, don't use kind of stock imagery of random people. Really use the people that you have in your company just to help you get a better sense. And finally, make sure that you optimize for things like mobile and SEO as well to ensure that you're accessible and discoverable no matter what device people use. And then moving on to kind of like the job board best practices. These are things like, your LinkedIn main page, your Indeed main page. You kind of want to make sure that on your job boards, you lead with your EVP headline and you kind of like differentiate yourself with your purpose-driven role descriptions. If you can, and if you have them, incorporate rich media to kind of like make your job ad, stand out, make your page stand out. You can use things like videos, quotes, testimonials. This really kind of like humanizes the listing. And kind of something related to your career page stuff. You want to make sure that you have a consistent tone, across all your job ads. You don't want one job ad to kind of like feel very different to another one because then there's no kind of synergy with your employer brand there. You also want to make sure you use data-driven insights to kind of refine, the keywords and to make sure that you target ideal talent audiences. There could be multiple names for one specific role, so you kind of want to research and find out, what kind of terms the people that you're looking for use when searching for, the jobs that you offer. And one kind of small bit, you want to make sure that you link directly to your career page and for deeper engagement. People aren't just going to look at your job listing and then be like, sweet, I'm going to apply. They're going to want to investigate you. They're going to want to see, your website, your career page, and make sure they have that opportunity just for further nurturement there. Review sites. So this is things like Glassdoor, and there are a few others as well as there. You want to encourage balanced, authentic employee reviews, through internal advocacy. This is essentially meaning just ask the people you have in your business and even people that may have left on good terms, just to give you up-to-date reviews because they are really important in, building that perception. And you want to make sure that you monitor and respond to any reviews promptly and transparently. One, it shows accountability, but one, it also shows that you're present on there and that you're like an active business. And, even if you have a negative review, it's better to kind of acknowledge it and give a response there to kind of like help improve your visibility there. But also review sites can be a fantastic way to kind of like get feedback and analyze those trends. Like if people are commenting about similar issues and similar things, that kind of shows a misalignment with what they want and kind of what you're offering, which then can lead you to redoing your EVP or maybe even changing some things internally so you kind of like offer what people are wanting. And of course, you want to highlight any positive reviews and employee testimonials on your review sites into other media as well, on your career page and on your job boards as well. And you want to kind of like integrate those learnings into your ongoing EVP storytelling strategy. Moving into internal communications, this is how you like communicate with the people in your business. You want to make sure that you will align your messages, with your EVP to ensure that employees feel part of the brand promise and that the brand promise is there. If you say certain things in your EVP and then there's kind of like no trace of that when people are in, then it's going to cause a bit of a disconnect. So make sure that you kind of like embed that and use that in your messaging when speaking to people inside your business. You want to make sure that you use storytelling and recognition, to celebrate any behaviors, that align with the EVP you've identified and their achievements there. And you want to make sure you create a trustworthy two-way communication channel so you can kind of get feedback, but also foster that trust with your employees as well. And you want to make sure that all your leaders are equipped with the they're equipped with the EVP understanding and talking points, because that kind of like cascades consistent messaging, like it all kind of starts at the top. And from this as well, you also want to regularly measure engagement and adapt your content based on any employee sentiment data moving forward. And finally, for Google My Business, you want to make sure that your profile reflects your EVP visually and verbally through your imagery, your tone, and your descriptions. You want to make sure you post consistent, engaging updates about your business, so things like culture, your events, and your community involvement. You want to use the FAQ section on Google My Business, kind of highlight that transparency and showcase your company's personality, but also answer any of the burning questions that that potential candidates may have, or just people interested in the business in general. You want to also encourage your employees to maybe leave a few reviews on there as well, because they really help. And you want to keep your visuals and contact info and things like links updated, to ensure a seamless candidate journey, and just ensure that all your touch points are connected so that they don't fall off on that kind of that funnel there. So I think that's kind of everything that we have to go through about employer branding today. I believe, Prue, you may have some closing words.
Yes, thanks, Dom. So I guess in conclusion, it's just to reiterate why employer branding is a long-term investment. So it's not a campaign, it's a culture. Okay. So a strong employer brand takes time to build because it's rooted in trust, consistency, authentic employee experience. So think beyond recruitment. It's not just about attracting new people. It's about retaining, engaging, inspiring, and motivating the talent that you already have. The return is long lasting. So every interaction from job advert to alumni shapes reputation and future growth. So it's just, why employer branding is a long-term investment. Well, one, it consistently attracts top talent. It reduces recruitment costs. It increases employee retention and engagement, and builds a loyal and productive workforce, by creating a positive internal and external reputation that aligns with the company values. So just some quick wins. So audit your current reputation. Review Glassdoor, LinkedIn, ask employees, define your EVP. So what do you promise employees, and make sure you deliver. Align it with your company purpose and customer brand, and then activate from the inside out. So get leaders and employees sharing real life, authentic stories. Celebrate internally. So we have something at Wagada called Wagada Woohoo Moments. You can have that for free if you like. So that kind of shows our values in action. So and then finally, keep consistency across channels. Like Don was saying, mirror your brand tone and visuals in all hiring and culture content, and use concise, positive language that feels genuinely you. Okay, so it needs to be a reflection of you, and I think people can tell when it's not. So yeah, that's it from us today. If there are any questions or anyone have anything they'd like to add.
Thank you so much, Prue, Harrison, and Dom for that as well. We've had a couple of questions come through privately, and then so we'll tackle those and then open it up to the room if anybody has any questions. Don't hesitate as well to drop any more questions in the chat. Somebody's come through and said, thank you so much. There's a huge amount of information to take in all of this. If you could only focus on one part of employer branding to start with, what would you say makes the biggest impact? Did anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I can take that one. It's a really good question. There's a lot of stuff there, so it can maybe feel like overwhelming to kind of tackle it all. I think the best place to start with your employer planning is to really, build that foundation and crystallize your employee value proposition. Because even if that's all you do, it will help you when it comes to hiring, and help you pinpoint the best candidates, or basically allow you to know what your pain points are, and know kind of like what the people you kind of want to bring in. And yeah, if you can from here, I think you can use it to kind of like influence your messaging on social. So Yeah, in terms of like first tactics, I think start with your reviews. Like make sure that you can improve like your perception on there, on things like Indeed and Glassdoor. You know, 'cause at the end of the day, like your employer branding is your perception. That's one of the first things that people will look at. And yeah, if you can get more reviews from people inside your business and increase your overall score, then that will definitely kind of help with your employer branding, and things will kind of go from there. I hope that answers the question.
Nice one. Thanks, Dom. There's a question coming in the chat, but just one more that I want to just tackle that I had on the list that's come through privately. So, what is the role of leadership in employer branding? So, I guess that means if you've got multiple, I don't know, in like a larger organization where you might have multiple teams, you might have HR representatives, you might have marketing involved, you might have, and then obviously an SLT. You know, what do you perceive? I guess anybody in the room, what do you perceive to be, that
Yeah,
role or
yeah.
level of involvement?
Honestly, this is something I didn't actually touch on this, but you definitely want leadership to kind of be a core player in all your employer branding work. Kind of, you want them to kind of make up your employer branding team. So if you go ahead and kind of do these tactics, you want to make sure that they're kind of like involved from the start, because it's a reflection of your company culture at the end of the day, and like that kind of starts at the top. So they set a tone of how people experience your business every day. Yeah, so if you kind of like get your leadership team kind of like involved, they can then internally consistently demonstrate like your values, you communicate transparently with people, and like actively champion employee success and the behavior. Yeah, when they kind of like do that, the behavior kind of filters down. It just sets that kind of standard there, and you want them present when building your EVP and building like their core messaging, just to make sure that it still aligns with things like your business values and bits and pieces like that. Yeah, I hope that gives you guys a satisfying answer on that regard.
I would also touch on just like
Go
the
for it.
macro points that I mentioned as well, especially the creator economy and allowing people to be creative. It's less so I guess the branding, but more like how you would once you have that and you have attracted the talent, sort of what they would do in their sort of work life, and how how much freedom you want to give them within reason, and how they'll feel valued and more accountable on the back of that. So I link it to that too.
Thanks for that, Harrison. Yeah, that makes total sense. We've had some more questions come through. So one here. Oh, we've had a message come through. Thank you so much to us and the team for a really interesting webinar. Very helpful info on points and well delivered from all who spoke so well. So there you go, some fab feedback. Thank you for that. Glad you found it to be beneficial. Questions come through. You mentioned AI SEO at a couple of points. What is the emerging best tool for AI with regards to SEO? So that's probably a bit two-pronged, right? In terms of what to use, and also then when we're talking a lot about AI search and AEO, GEO. So who wants to tackle that piece?
I guess I'm probably the best equipped, being the SEO and content marketer here. AI is a big thing. It comes with kind of like everything we kind of talk about. In terms of kind of like the best tools for kind of using AI, I'm not quite sure how kind of like if there is any there at the moment. It's still quite like in new tech. What I kind of can say with making sure that you're appearing in AI search and your kind of overviews is you want to still have a good kind of like SEO foundation. LLMs, which is large language models and stuff like that, they still heavily use Google and other search engines to influence their answers. In fact, I think 50% of all kind of like queries, they just kind of like go and search Google because they haven't got it in their database. So you still want to kind of have strong SEO principles. But when it comes to kind of employer branding and making sure that your business appears on those things, you want to increase your semantic value. And I'm going to get a bit technical here, and I apologize if some don't kind of get it. I'm still kind of like learning it as well, as it is quite new. But when you kind of like when an AI does a query such as best place to work in Cheltenham, it will do loads of like searches in the back end. It won't just search that. It will think what's the most relevant to these questions to give a whole comprehensive answer, because that's the main goal of AI at the moment. AI is kind of nasty. It wants to stop people from clicking on your website because they want to just give you everything you're after. So you want to kind of like figure out what these kind of background searches are, and there are various different tools you can do with that. You can use Answer the Public, you can use RES as well, REFs as well, to kind of like see what the related terms are to that kind of like main search query, and then you can then use those within your content to hopefully then get answered into your AI, into AI. So hopefully that in a roundabout way kind of answers your question there.
I think that's quite good, just to jump in as well,
Go
because
for it,
I
Harrison.
mean, I have an AI and software business, and Dominic and the team with Ricardo definitely know a lot more about me about search engine optimization and all that stuff. But my understanding is that they're quite heavily linked, and tools like ChatGPT and, as Dom was saying, have been trained across Google and are constantly evolving and learning. So like I said, they're quite heavily linked, and it's about doing all the right things with SEO, and also looking at this, semantic models and the main words that they reference.
Yeah. No, spot on. We're seeing a massive shift as well in kind of consumer behaviors. So it's moving much, much more to large language models now, especially for that top of the funnel research stage. So, best, I don't know, childcare employer within a 10-mile radius of this location, best, SaaS company with work-life balance values or whatever. People are going to start to search more and more with those behaviors, through large language models. And what that is then leading to, that we're seeing, is a significant increase in conversion rates when consumers actually go through to the website, because they're much further down the funnel. So they're getting a lot of this information top level. They're getting it from these tools and these other platforms, not just Google. But then when they do finally click through and engage, they might be ready to either submit a CV, so or whatever it may be, the conversion. So it's worth kind of monitoring that and really looking at it, because we're seeing it compound in terms of the volume of searches. It starts very, very low, and we're still very much in early adoption stage, but 10 turns into 20 a month, turns into 50 a month, turns into 100 a month, turns into 500 a month. And I think we've got to look at that direction that we're going in. It's going to look very different in the next few years, but yeah, we're still in that relatively early adoption stage. I've just popped an AI optimization checklist into the chat as well, so if anybody has an interest, we literally launched this, I think, 2 weeks ago. It's an AI search optimization best practices guide, so it is very much hot off the press and worth downloading and having a little look in there. Dom and the team put a lot of effort into putting together what is a fantastic resource, so go check it out. Brilliant. Well, listen, we've run over by a couple of minutes, but thank you everybody so much for joining the session. You will get a copy of the recording and a copy of the deck afterwards as well. I believe you just had some information on our forthcoming HubSpot webinar that's taking place early next month. Here we go. Some more info. We'll send these across to you in the deck, but we have a PPC data loss and accurate conversion tracking coming up back end of November. So take a look, check that one out if that's of interest. And then what AI will bring to marketing in 2026 and beyond. That's one coming up in the new year. Obviously, you're going to take a bit of a break for Christmas, and then we've got that one coming up in January, which is definitely one that you're going to want to sink your teeth into with our AI marketer, Luca. Thank you again to Harrison. I shared some details from the Smart Elephant in the chat, so do go and check those guys out. And if you've got any questions, you know where to find us. But thanks again for joining. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend when it finally comes around, and best of luck on your employer branding and recruitment marketing journey.